In the surface, some people are very can be pointy, and other people are flat. So we are different outside. But inside of ourselves, we are more similar than we think. Culture and traditions fit the surface that makes us different. But when we go to see the humanness, we are very similar, more similar than we think. In the surface, sometimes we show that we are happy, but sometimes underneath us, there is another story that is hard for us to reflect. Sometimes we say that this is me. When I'm happy, this is me. And sometimes this is me. Who are you? And we fluctuate in one or the other. And sometimes we live in life like it's a bucket of joy or a bucket of sadness. And we don't know why. Because the art of life is to be able to integrate both. If I feel that I'm just good, it's not a true self. If I feel that I'm always bad, it's not a true self either. So the ability is how to incorporate both and to be able to know what is happening within me, to be able to know these two parts of me. We are both. So what happened in the brain? This is again a very simple definition or explanation of the brain. The model I'm going to use is a model that in neuroscience, that is what I do. We don't use much of this terminology anymore, but it's right. That is what is called the triune brain. That is the part of the brain that divided in three: the reptilian brain, the limbic system, and the frontal lobe. I'll show you how it works. When I'm happy, when I'm content, this is an emotion that happens in the limbic system. When I am happy, like this, happy is not happy. Happy means I'm aligned with myself. I may be facing difficulties, but I'm content, I'm happy. When I'm like this, that information goes to the brain stem, to the reptilian brain, to the part of the brain that controls the body, and I feel well. Even people who have heart problems, diabetes, or asthma, when they are at peace, when they're aligned with life, they feel okay, they feel better. Because the information goes to that part of the brain and relaxes, especially the solar plexus and different parts of the brain, it flows better. This information also goes to the frontal lobe of the brain. And it says, I'm okay. No, I'm at peace. I can contain my life. And in that case, there is a word that in Hebrew is shalom. So when I'm well aligned with myself, I feel okay in a shalom. But shalom is not peace. It's a bigger word. It's at peace. So when I'm centered with myself, when I'm aligned with my things, I have a problem, I can face that better. And as we saw last week, I can play constructive roles even in adversity. This is what, when we work on resilience, this is what we are building. We are building the capacity to face adversity. So the shalom is, if somebody asks me, how are you? I said, I'm okay. They said, but I heard you have cancer. And I said, yes, but I'm okay. But also I heard that you lost your job. Yes, but I am okay. It's a level of okayness that is the concept of peace, the concept to be at peace. So when the brain is in that place, there is an alignment with my body, with myself, with the other, and a sense of identity. It gives me a feeling well. But when I'm not feeling well, this information is also in the limbic system, that is the emotional part of the brain. The same way that we cannot not respond to feeling well, the whole body is flowing with wellness. When I feel bad, it's also I cannot not respond. And the responses are very basic, and each one of us has a special trigger. So some, it will go to attack, to strangle somebody, just very quickly, and the adversity with someone else, like this. Someone, it will to withdraw, to escape, to go to under a carpet, metaphorically speaking, and avoiding every situation. I don't want to talk about it. There are some personalities who are who never go into conflict. They will flee any concept, and others will just be paralyzed and hide in front of a problem. So in my case, for example, under a pressure, my first response is attack, is the first one, like this. So it's important for us to recognize in us which is my first response. And it's important to know it, because that response will create an effect into the other person. And one of the essence of emotional and social intelligence is to know what I feel and what I do, but also to be able to understand what the other person is feeling and doing. And in that connection, I learn how to manage that relationship. So I'm sharing things about myself, and as I said, when I'm triggered like this, I react in an attack. How do you respond? You don't need to answer openly, but how do you respond? When somebody say, "Oh, depends," no, there is a very common response. Of course, it depends. But there is a core level of response that is usually the same, that comes from me. So for me, under an attack, I have this. But of course, because I don't like it, or sometimes I like it actually, to be honest, but I know that it's totally inappropriate. I've been learning how to delay that. But I know that my core level is to hit. No? Maybe also coming from Argentina, a very aggressive country with the revolution, but I think it's just me. What about you? What about you? What is your primal response? To hit, to withdraw, or to hide? Think about it. And if you don't know, good. It's a good time to start thinking, what is my form? But also to ask others. I think we mentioned before that we cannot see our face. The same way I cannot see my face, and I need a mirror. And I need a mirror, and also I need ways for me to know myself. And one of them is to ask others. So how do you see that I respond when I'm cranky, or when I feel triggered by something? And if the person says something that you don't agree, don't defend. Not go to interesting. And this is our journey, to know myself better. So this is a homework for you. But when I'm feeling bad in that way, that I'm not aligned with life, this information also goes to the brain stem, to the reptilian brain. And this is the origin of psychosomatic disorders. This is when the person goes to the doctor does all the tests, so you have nothing. And what is that? Because the body is aching from unresolved situations. So it's very important for us to know when we have a headache and we don't know why, and of course now with a lot of the flu and COVID or whatever is different. But whatever physical symptom we have, it's important to pause and to say, how am I? Is that a response of an emotion that I haven't been able to control yet or to process? And this is an important thing for us to do, essential, but especially when we see somebody that is close to us with a physiological response to something, to say, wow, what can I do? Can I be part of that wellness for the person to feel better? We're going to come back to the emotions later. But in the same way that the information of feeling well goes to the reptilian brain, it also goes to the frontal lobe of the brain. Informs the brain, I'm not well. And this is fantastic. This is interesting. The brain cannot accept sense of failure or sense of feeling bad or feeling uncertainty. All of these feelings are heightened, but the frontal lobe doesn't know how to handle it. So it puts a wall that is called a construct. That construct happens in 12 milliseconds, very quick. And automatically, the frontal lobe of the brain, that is the rational brain, that makes us think, strategize, and plan, that part of the brain cannot accept failure, ambiguity, uncertainty, and put the block. And instead of saying, I feel really bad, let's just say, I'm okay, I'm fantastic. Because it needs to feel like that to be able to compensate life with goodness, because it cannot handle uncertainty. It's a very, the story we talked last time before, the story in the Bible of Adam and Eve. We know with God asked Adam, what happened? He made a mess. No, he made a mistake. He ate what he shouldn't have eaten. And God asked him, what happened? Adam, instead of collapsing and said, I don't know what happened, I'm so sorry. Instead of saying that, going to the limbic system and said, I make a mistake, what did he say? I think we know the answer. He says, the woman you gave me, make me do it. The important thing here is that Adam didn't lie to God. To whom did he lie to? He lied to himself. We all do that because the frontal lobe of the brain in the human brain cannot handle uncertainty, sense of failure, and anything that changes and changes the familiarity or expectation, because it's based on fear. And the story with Adam is the same. He said, I heard you in the garden and I was afraid. So fear is the first feeling that the limbic system triggers. And this is because of the amygdala. And again, it's triggered in 12 milliseconds. Every behavior we have that is not constructive, that doesn't build us as a person and doesn't build the other person, is always triggered by fear. So for us to know ourselves better, we need to know what are my fears. And to find that is more difficult than we think, because those fears are on the other side of the wall. So when I go from the front, trying to access that, boom, I have the fear and creates my story. That is called a cognitive bias. So this is the way that the brain works and said, I am okay. So when somebody asks me, how are you? And I don't feel well, the frontal lobe of the brain puts the block again and said, I'm okay. It's not my fault. And we have what we talked before on the first time, a sense of knowing that I'm going to defend that with everything that I can. But this feeling like that is a false self. I know that I'm righteous, it's a false self. But also, sometimes I feel really bad, and I have acquired a sense of self-pity. How are you? I'm very bad, I'm a failure, I'm this and that. Many people use that to have some pity and for people to control, to be with them. This is also a false self. So what is the the healthy mind, to be able to know that both are important, that I can connect the two in one. And in that case, this is the process of insight. I'm able to be put together. Who is Carlos? So Carlos is the one who, as I mentioned before, when the trigger hits, boom, like this. This is Carlos. But also Carlos is this Carlos, who is trying to connect with you, that is sharing and being able to find ways of connection, of loving, of generosity. So who is Carlos? Both are Carlos. And it's essential for us to know that these two is me. The question is, which one is emerging in the time of conflict, in the time of difficulty? And to do that, we need insight. We need the healing, and it's very important. You see in the bottom, there's a container. For me to have the two Carlos, I need to feel contained. And containment is love. I can only accept that I am not well when I feel loved. So, this is what takes me, because I can say, I'm not well, and I feel that it will not be a criticism. It will be grace and love. How are you? I'm not well. I make a mistake. I couldn't do that well. That takes a lot of courage to do that. But the courage alone is not enough. We need a container. So what is the container I feel in my life that is containing me? And what is the container I'm creating at home with my friends, in my community? That when I say to somebody, how are you? The person could go a little bit closer to not feeling well and feel contained. And there too, as I put here, is our belief system. In the school, Lindesfarne is an Anglican school. It's a Christian school that is promoting Christian values and Christian life. So how we are using those belief systems. And if I'm not a Christian, if I'm an atheist or I have another type of belief, each one of us has a belief system that is enough to contain me. Enough if I feed it, if I'm connected to that. So this is essential for us to know that this is the language of the limbic system. For the limbic system to accept that I'm not well, it needs to have this containment. So the question is, who's containing me? And when we do research on that, there are many people who feels, I don't have a place where I can put my heads on. And this is a journey to start creating it. And sometimes starting with our belief system. What is the God or our belief that I have to be able to put my head on that? That gives peace into the brain. So the question here is, how can we reflect on that and to see these parts? And I'd like to go a little bit now to the adolescent brain. We mentioned before, I don't have a special slide for that. We mentioned before that in the limbic system, let me go back before to here. Here. When I don't feel well, we said that this information goes to the frontal lobe. And when we ask to somebody, how are you? In the evolution of the brain, in the adolescent life, in the time of adolescence, there is massive social changes in the schools, in the expectations, and also internal changes. There is hormonal changes. And the development of the limbic system is faster than the development of the language system or the cortical system. The cortical system is behind. So therefore, there are many emotions that the adolescent will have that will not have the capacity of language yet to be able to articulate it. And when we cannot articulate we have our emotions, as we mentioned before, we cannot not respond. And we are going to respond attacking with behaviors that they are destructive. We're going to respond hiding, pushing people away, or hiding. The hiding sometimes is one of the more difficult ones. And I made that comments in a PowerPoint that I put in the website from last session. Where do I go when I hide? The hiding is going to places that are going to satisfy me or contain me, even though it may not be very healthy, but when I'm in pain, I cannot float like this. I need to go to a place that contains me. The person that has more the aggressive one, it will be more behaviors like that, destructive behaviors. The person will withdraw, he will hide more, sometimes into thinking, into different place. And the hiding, this is sometimes the more difficult because we cannot see it. And very often this is done through alcohol, through drugs, and through self-harm, and to relationships, that when I'm in that relationship, I feel contained. So the question here is, when we know that our child is responding in any of these ways, it's not because the child is choosing to do that. It's chosen by that and is powerless. And only through a creating of an environment of containment, we can access the limbic system for the child to be able to express what is happening. And this is a very scary process. But also it's important to start with us. No? Start with us. Where do I go? Do I know myself? Do I have this container? And if I don't have it, it will be very hard for me to do it with others if I don't have it. So this is in a simple presentation about the brain, and I'd like to see if there is questions, comments, and I would love for you to interact with you. And I hope that it has been somehow clear. And this PowerPoint will be shared and also the recording. So, any comments or any questions? I will leave one. I don't know which one to leave. I will leave that is empty, like my brain, empty. So I'd like to see how are we? And this has been of some help. And who would like to ask any question? So a question here, how do we assist a child in finding their place of containment? Are you asking the question, how we assist a child to find their containment? To understand the place in the containment. Because when the child feels contained, it will stay there. It will be like a magnet. We go when we feel contained. We don't go with what is good to us. the finding a containment is absolutely emotional, it's not rational. It's what we feel. And very often the feelings we have are not conducing to what we need. So the question is how to create a healthy container and to be consistent into that. So with the parents, I will ask, do you feel contained yourself? No, with your belief system, with yourself, with your partner or family? And then in the house, in the home, are you creating a space for the child to stay there? So this is somehow the answer, how I'm creating that. So the question is, do we know what we are talking about a container? For me, because I teach this, I know what I'm talking about. But do you know what it means? So feeling loved, feeling safe, feeling accepted. Of course. So love, as I mentioned, is it is okay. You are okay. You are okay. Doesn't mean that you're right. You are okay. Let's talk about it. What happened? Remember the responses. Is response in an aggression or withdrawal or hiding? What happened? Can you tell me more about it? But the tone of voice, it will create the space or not. What do you do that for? No? Is you a stupid idiot. But if I said, wow, look at what you have done. Sit down, can you tell me more? I wonder, what's happening? And if I'm sensitive to that, if I feel contained, I'm able to dance with a child. If I'm losing it, I could ask the question. In a way, I'm asking you, is it helping you or not? The child might not be the right time. I said, what about if we chat later? Okay, mom. Okay, dad. Let's do later. Well, I don't want to do that. And then the role theory that we did last week. If I said to a child, how are you? I say, I don't want to talk about it. No, my question would be constructive. How are you? Loving, accepting, send a feeling. But the child is not able to receive that yet. Never lose the hope yet. And respond, boom. That's as we saw it. Boom, respond like this. Where do I go? Because that triggers our ego. Okay, then, go away. So that child provoking us a fragmented behavior. So when we're talking about resilience for children, it's more difficult for resilience for parents. How can I stay there even though if there is a rejection? Another question here is to be loved, to be heard, to belong, to celebrate each child's goodness and gift, to validate our children and students? Yes. This is what we're talking about. Remember, we started like this. What are the virtues of your children? No, we asked for one. Some people wrote two. Have a list. And permanently, not in a stupid way, but appropriately. When we see that virtue, it is so beautiful. I see you so caring. Wow, you are creative. Your imagination blows me apart. It's amazing. And when we are doing the opposite, no, that is not caring or not imaginative or not creative, I say, wow, that's funny. Because you are on the other side of what I picture you. You're so caring. No? So I wonder what happened that you are not in that space. But to do that is our growth as parents. Separate that behavior and reassure your love. Yes, it was said before, but before we need to know, because this whole theory, separate the behavior and reassure your love. The problem is that the behavior of the child may be a mirror of my own behavior, or maybe a behavior that I grew up with, and I'm fighting it. So how to separate the behavior? We mentioned that last time. Sometimes it's not difficult. It's at the edge of the impossible. So it's important that place when I feel that I cannot separate the behavior to reassure life, when I cannot be there to accept it. They say, wow, I couldn't do it well this time. And hopefully, if you have a partner, a husband, a wife, a parent, or a friend, to be able to share it, I couldn't do it very well today. And you don't expect the other person to solve the problem, but to say to others, it's like a confession. We are hearing it. And the question is, what can I do better? What can I do? And how to work together. If there are parents, both together, or if it's a single parent, maybe with a friend or a grandparent, to imagine the goodness of the child. I said, I don't know what to do. And to stay in that space. I don't know what to do. This is where is the time for spirituality, to talk to a friend, to talk to a counselor, and to be able to learn, because we are all learning in that space. So to separate behavior and to reassure love, of course, but to be able to see, if I cannot do it, to notice. I cannot do it. And sometimes we cannot do it because we're exhausted. We're tired. So we need to see how to balance the tension in life too. I love this when it says here, I love you, but I don't like this behavior. Yes, the problem is that sometimes we learn these cliches and say, well, I love you, but I don't like your behavior. But the child feels, no, that is a cliche. Do I really mean that? Because the child will feel the sense of your heart, not what you're saying, even though what you're saying is so good. So the question here is, can the person feel, do I really believe that? And if I cannot do it well, you will. If you stay in that space, feel contained, find support, and we all learning. So it's very important for us to be authentic, because very often we go to workshops and we learn certain lines, and we take the line, the statement, but we don't incorporate it in our life. So this is the process of learning it. This is Melanie. This is where the active roles are helpful. So this is essential. No? How to see, how to be authentic in the relationship with the other. I remember a person. I remember a person was saying, I with a very bad relationship and a lot of fear about her son because he was behaving in ways that are very scary. And in the process, I said to the parents, have you ever been into his bedroom when he's not there? Sit by his bed or standing up, or imagine him. Imagine him. Let that space talk to you. What do you feel with him? That is a type of role reversal. Do you know your son? Do you know your daughter? And the noise that sometimes their behavior makes shadows who they are. They don't know what they are doing, but this is part of the behavior that is covering themselves. We need to break that. And we have inside us what is called limbic resonance. Look at the word. We can resonate heart to heart with anyone, but in this case, we're talking about the children. Go to that bedroom, sit down, look at what they do, the colors they use, the music they are listening to. What are they talking about? And to go into that space with respect is knowing them better. And sometimes all of that process is a process of prayer. Wow, this is my son. He's not well. What is it, my beautiful son? My beautiful daughter? What is it? And in that process, I'm creating first the container for me as a parent and the container for the child. The comment. Anyone has asked a question or a comment or? So while people are thinking, what I'm saying here about when the first thing I said when we started these workshops is that the biggest issues in couples, in families, is the education of the children, the finances of the children, not of the children, finances, ideology, different ways of thinking, and of course then starts the in-laws or blended families and things like that. But the education of the children is one of the more difficult things because we come with different parameters. So in the first workshop, we talk about that. So my suggestion is try to spend more time with your partner, or if you're a single parent, with somebody who's close to you, to see what is in your mind, what is your desire, and always start with the virtues of your children. What I'm doing is feeding that or not. And when you are in disagreement, there will always be a point of agreement. Go to that space and start from there. But our ego sometimes plays hard on us and we get hurt and we start defending ourselves. So the idea is, what are the point of contact in our family? What are the points of contact you have with your children, and how much time you feed that? How much time you spend feeding that? Somebody said that when we have a dark room, we don't push the darkness away. We put a little candle, and then start breaking it. Easy to teach, hard to do. So anyone else would like to share? And very close to start finishing tonight. I wonder if somebody can write how was tonight. Last week it will be the last one, and it will be about seeking happiness. What happened in our journey, towards happiness, and why sometimes it's so elusive, so hard to find. Thank you for the feedback. It will be a word, a comment at the end of the chat. It would be good as a feedback for us, for Constantine and for Melanie, just to see if we are somehow sharing what you need. Because I'm sharing with you what I think you need, but I need more of the feedback. Wow, look at your word. Constantine, can you pronounce that beautiful word?
Yes, I can. The word is ahoromgenanya. So it's an Igbo word, literally means I see you with my eyes. And that's how we say, I love you in my mother tongue. So when you say to someone you love them, you say to them, Ahorum Genanya. So it's in a sense, really, what you reminded me of that, because you're inviting us to truly see our children and our students with the eyes of our hearts, it's really quite powerful. It's not always easy to do when you're busy and there's so much demand on your time. I think this is the work, is really to make more time to really see them and see their goodness. I mean, of course, to see also their flaws, but to accept both, as you said, is not one or the other, it's both, isn't it? But often,
it's both.
We tend in our society to have Velcro for bad stuff and Teflon for good stuff. So you're asking us to switch, to have Velcro for goodness, and then Teflon.
Absolutely.
So
and the only way that happens is through design neuroscience, is through repetition, consistency, and a period of time. So to be able to see the other, but also remember, we don't see our face, we don't see our actions. Ask your partner, ask your children, do you see that I see you? And but ask the question as an naive inquirer, not as a pusher. Say, I see you well, don't I? No? Because the child says, oh yeah, mom, you're perfect. But if you have this space to say, do you feel seen by me? And create the space that you can say, sometimes I don't. I say, oh, really? And as Constantine says, sometimes tiredness, exhaustion, but especially fear, shadows us to see the other. This is why in the Bible, one of the words that is repeated so many times, I forgot how many times it's repeated, is don't be afraid. Wow. That's all I'd like to finish tonight. Don't be afraid. And to know that there is hope. And one more thing, that I said it, but I repeat it again. We have what it takes to live a good life. But we need to learn how to pause, how to doubt, and how to wonder. If we stay in the I know, I will never learn. So, my prayer for tonight is that each one of us will feel a little bit more the container we have for us to rest, to put our head, but also to create a container for others, especially our children, the people we love, to be able to do that. There is hope, there is grace, there is love, and it's closer to us than we think. So this is my blessing for tonight. I'd like to share again that I have time now because of what I'm doing. And if anybody would like to have a chat with me as part of this ministry that we're doing, I would be very happy, to have a chat with you without any, just a free chat, conversation. I'm here to support you. Anyone else would like to say anything? And we go. So in a few days, this video will be up and the PowerPoint, so you can have a look again. Constantine, you would like to close this chat today?
No, thank you. Thanks, Carlos, very much for your presentation and for the insights. I can see the comments. People find that very interesting and very worthwhile to spend an hour with you thinking over these things. And thank you so much. Thank you, Melanie, for the IT work in the background and sending all the links. And to all of you, thank you so very much. I see some of the names that I know and stuff like that. So thank you. It's much appreciated. Some teachers and parents, it's really lovely that you can come along. So thank you. Have a good evening, a good rest, and remember to look after yourself. These are very trying times for all of us.
Yes.
So look after yourselves and find your container, find those things that fill your cup, that nourish you, so that we can continue to nourish our students and our children.
Beautiful
God
blessing.
bless you, and good night to all of you.
Thank you very much. Many blessings. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Constantine. Very good.